You're listening to the Light Novel Podcast. Visit us online at lightnovelpodcast.com. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Light Novel Podcast. I am Justus R, and with me tonight I have Jean-Luc.
Good evening.
I have Kyle.
Hola.
And I have Terrence.
What's up?
And tonight we're going to be talking about a couple of sort of news things that have happened in the light novel world in the last couple weeks. By the time you're hearing this, I guess it'll have been a couple weeks since all this stuff happened, but we want to talk about it. We're going to be talking about some license news that came out of Anime New York City, out of and around Anime New York City. We're going to talk a little bit about the manga announcements that J Novel Club has made, because most of them tie in very closely to light novels. Not too shocking there. And then finally, we're going to just kind of hash it out and talk about the ranking of the Kono light novel Ga Sugoi that came out this past weekend. We're recording this just shortly after it went live. And we're going to sort of talk, I'm guessing we'll probably talk more about the titles that we don't have in English, because that's, because we'll probably do podcasts on the other ones. So
one day.
Yeah, one day. So first of all, we will start with the licenses. We were talking about it. We're like, well, there's really not any news right now because we're actually talking about the news that's happened in the light novel world. So for Anime New York City, on the Friday before Anime New York City, Seven Seas teased everybody and said, hey, if you can get our Facebook page up to 10,000 followers, we'll announce a new light novel license. And, of course, we all did our part and sure enough got them over that hurdle. And so on Friday, they announced Restaurant to Another World. This one, it has 4 volumes in Japan. I'm pretty sure it's done. I think there's only the 4 volumes. I'm not too sure, though. It did have a 12-episode anime, which ran from July to September in 2017. And just as a general oversight, this is what Seven Seas website says about it. Western cuisine Nakoya seems like a typical restaurant on the outside, but it hides an amazing secret. On Saturdays, portals to another world appear that allow all manner of unearthly creatures to sit down for a nice meal. Elves, dragons, or anyone else who wants to sample our world's cuisine is welcome to partake before returning to their world, sated and ready for their next quest. This lovely light novel series, never before published in English, celebrates even the simplest of our foods as fantastical adventures in fine dining. Bon appetit.
Bon appetit. That's the proper way to pronounce it.
Well, pardon me, Mr. Frenchman, I do not know this. I am a filthy Anglophone. I had to study French in school, but it was like 20 years ago. Cut me some slack. Anyway. Bon appetit. So what I always find it funny those with these things is that it's like, this is like a new series that's only been out the last couple of years, and they're like, never before published in English. I'm like, Well, no kidding, buddy. If somebody else had published it, you wouldn't have the license for it. Anyway, never mind. That's just my little rant on this thing. So I don't know. Did you guys see the anime of this one at all? Like, did you check that out at all?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I had an excellent opening by May In, so at least watch it for that. But it's just a simple compilation of short stories that center around the restaurant.
Yeah, it's structurally, it is not like there's an overarching story. At least there wasn't one presented in the anime. Like, exactly. It was basically just these short stories about the people who are patrons of the restaurant from this other world, like how they found the door to the restaurant and how they ended up like loving a certain dish and stuff like that. Funny enough, actually, my wife was like super excited when I told her this book was coming out. I haven't been able to get her into much in the way of light novels, but she loves her cooking anime, you know?
Yes. So this one, I didn't watch the anime, but I did see Crunchyroll posted a few videos of like people cooking the dishes that are in the show, you know,
Yes.
and so that was all I saw. And obviously I didn't know the synopsis, so I didn't know. It's kind of like a comfort food restaurant, like Western comfort food. Is that what it is?
Well, not really.
Yeah.
It's like the chef is able to make a bit of everything, like Japanese, Italian, whatever. But one thing that I find really interesting about this series as a whole is that it's not just the fact that people come from another world to eat like the cuisine from our world. It's that by coming here and eating our food, like it helps them to surpass some hurdle that they have in their life. So they goes back to their world and they're able to achieve what they wanted to achieve. And
Yeah, it's really about, I mean, it's very much about the power of food kind of thing, and how, you know, a certain dish can, between the food itself and just the nostalgia around the dish, it can really alter the course of yourself. Like it was good. I thought it was really cute, actually.
it's a cute little fluffy anime, and I'm sure the light novel will be great. So
I'm looking forward to it. I've been kind of getting into these more lighter, fluffier type light novels lately, so I'm kind of looking forward to it. Plus, you know what? Sometimes it's nice to have a light novel that you don't feel the pressure of having to get the next volume. You know what I mean? Like, you can just sit down with it whenever you want, and because they're just individual stories, it's not like, oh my God, I haven't read a volume for like 7 months, I don't remember anything. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
Even like Konosuba is kind of like that. You can just jump in. At
Yeah,
least
a
on
little
the
bit.
early
yeah,
volumes.
like there's no cliffhanger.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, like you can just settle in. And you're just like, I know the basic premise and who's eating in the restaurant this week. You know what I mean? Like, I do kind of like those books. I find that they're a nice sort of way to disconnect every now and then. So Yen Press came through with a couple of licenses for us, and the first one is I love this title that they're releasing under The Dirty Way to Destroy the Goddess's Hero. When Shinichi Sotoyama is suddenly transported to a world of swords and magic, his first quest isn't to rescue a helpless maiden or save the world, but to protect a demon lord. So, I mean, I don't know anything about this book at all. In fact, I had a hard time finding information about it, really. I mean, by the sounds of it, it's like an anti-hero kind of book, or it's a comedy. I'm not sure.
Well, it's really hard to tell by the synopsis and the title.
Well, and even the artwork, like when you look at the book cover is very kind of moe, cutish girls. So it kind of suggests to me that it might be more comedic, because it's not like, you know, one that we will talk about, which has beautiful artwork, but definitely like screams, hi, I'm a dark light novel. But this one, yeah, so I don't really know much about it. My guess is that it's going to be a comedy, and that it's going to be kind of like that, you know, pratfall type comedy, and, you know, this guy working against undermining hero, but I wonder if he's not like a bad guy. You know what I mean? Like, how can I make things hard for the hero but not actually beat the hero because I don't want to be a bad guy? Like, I don't know how they're going to play it. I really know nothing about it at all. This was the first time I have ever heard of this title.
But it really depends, because one thing I noted, like, we're used to like the word demon lord, like Mao, and well, normally kind of invoke a sense of like evil or like an evil entity, but in its pure sense, the way it's written in kanji, like it doesn't really invoke anything evil. Like it has a sense of like magic or like unnatural thing and lord or managing kind of king or an entity that manage stuff. So in a lot of times you see it translated as demon lord, but magic lord would be more appropriate. And also in another one that I checked lately, like Isekai Nambeli Nonka, like you have a demon lord, but it's actually like demons are only a type of human that can use magic, and the demon lord is basically just the king of those people. Like it's not an evil guy that is in war against other humans. It's just his title.
Yeah,
Right.
so essentially just another race.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody like an other than human, but associated usually with magic or the otherness of, you know, like that kind of thing. Is that kind of what you're getting at?
Yeah. So I'm not sure if that's what it's about in this one. Like
Maybe.
Yeah.
the demon lord is someone that is maybe not understood right, and that he's taking his defense for a good reason.
Right.
Yeah.
That could be.
So
Could be.
I did look at this one really, really briefly. So, but I just looked
Okay.
at a few of the opening pages,
Yeah.
and it does start with like him getting transported very suddenly to another world, and he encounters like this big hulking like blue ogre to start, and he's like, "I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die." And then if you can see the girl on the cover in the background, she seems like she's going to be a little sister type, and she kind of calls the ogre away and then starts to talk to him. So that was as far as I got, literally. So it's probably going to be more on the comedy edge. That's what I get.
So it's going to be a comedy, and the demon lord is going to be like an emoto. Is that what we're going to say?
I'm not sure.
From
So
your
I haven't gotten that
description,
far.
it's pretty much what we're gonna get.
I'm starting to see where this series. I'm starting to see why Yen thinks this series might sell. There's only 5 volumes in Japan. The most recent one was just released July, like at the very end of July. So I mean, it's an ongoing series from what I can tell. So yeah, I mean, it is interesting. I had never heard of this one until it was announced by Yen.
Had it on my wish list, but just because of the cover, you know, sometimes it's just a cover design or just something that looks kind of unique I'll throw on my wish list. But this one, I don't know a whole lot besides that.
Well, like I said, I mean, even just the title has me curious to check it out. Like, I mean, if it does play out like a Konosuba, I think that would be great. Like, I would love to see like sort of that, you know, a bit more of that absurd comedy isekai pratfalls, you know, let's break all of the conceptions of this whole thing. Like, I think that would be cool to me, but I guess we'll see. The next title that they licensed is The Hero is Overpowered but Overly Cautious. The goddess Lista summons a hero who excels in every area to assist her. He's everything she expected to be except for one thing. This anxious hero can't do anything unless he's absolutely sure nothing can go wrong. There are currently 5 volumes in Japan, and it is still ongoing. So the one example that I don't know if they said this I think they said it actually in the live stream. Was the example was like, imagine a slime, which is like the lowest level monster ever. And this hero basically pulls out like a level 99 attack on this level 1 slime just to be sure.
I'm curious about this one because, well, I relate a lot to the hero. I mean, like, I always like make sure that everything's gonna be fine. Like I overthink and over prepare for stuff, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes.
Well, like in video games, you hoard your items probably. Like I hoard everything that I get. Don't use that max potion now. I might need it for the final boss.
yeah, exactly.
I just hoard everything because I'm greedy and I want all the money for it. That's all, but whatever.
Yeah,
sorry, Kyle, you said that you dipped into this one a little bit?
Yeah, I not very far. I get total Konosuba vibes from it. Just absolutely. Yeah, it starts off with the goddess being assigned to find a hero to defeat the demon lord. And it's supposed to be like the strongest demon lord in like all the worlds. So she's going through this like printout list of candidates, and she finds the MC who has base stats that are higher than everybody else's. So she thinks, oh, hey, I'll bring this guy, and he should be able to beat the demon lord pretty simply. So she summons him, and first off, he doesn't buy anything she's saying. So he is totally dismissive, wants, nothing to do with her, but seeing as he's kind of trapped in this other world, has no choice. But before he accepts, he sits around for, I think, a couple of weeks doing nothing but sit-ups and push-ups to raise his level over and over again.
Wow.
Oh no. It's like that. Okay.
Yeah, so it goes through an entire training montage before he even gets sent to the other world.
Oh no.
Okay, I said I related to this guy, now maybe not so much.
No, I think this guy takes it to a whole other level. All right, well that's cool. Okay, good. So another comedy title. Well, I mean, I knew that it was going to be a comedy title, and actually, we just mentioned this one just got announced a couple weeks ago that it's getting an anime, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
yeah, I believe so.
So yeah. So I guess that's not too much of a surprise then that somebody snatched that one up. Next on the list. Now, this one, like I said, the artwork for this one is absolutely beautiful. The artwork is done by the same artist who did Black Bullet. Although I have to think that his artwork looks way better on the covers of this one than it ever did on Black Bullet. But anyway, and that is Torture Princess. And in this dark gothic fantasy, a boy is summoned to another world where he meets a beautiful and terrifying girl who offers him a choice: to be her servant or to be tortured. There's currently 7 volumes in Japan. As far as I can tell, it's an ongoing series. So other than the fantastic art, which, like I said, yeah, it does scream like dark gothic type story to me. Did you guys check this one any further out or no?
I read another synopsis, but other than that, not yet.
If nobody else read it, I just read the opening really quickly because I did buy I actually bought the first volume from Bookwalker, and then there are ways to look up the opening. So I did look into that just for the cast. But yeah, it opens basically with the hero. He's actually been murdered in his world, which I'm not sure if that's going to be a plot point. This happens very early. They mentioned this like in the first scene, but he comes into this world, and I'm not entirely sure, but I think there's a bunch of bodies strewn around, and he sees this girl, so he knows she's been killing things, creatures, humans, whatever, and he's curious about that, and he's like, nah, you know what? I had a terrible life in my real world. I'd rather die right now than continue to have an awful life here. And so he rejects her offer to be her servant initially. Then a monster comes screaming in, and she absolutely obliterates it, crumples it into a ball of mush, and then I think she sucks it into her gullet. That's like her torture ability. And so at this point, the hero is like, you know what? Maybe I don't want to die that way. And so he does accept. So that's the opening, yeah.
Well, okay. Jean-Luc, did you read was your synopsis any better? Like, I mean, really, like, this is like, it doesn't tell you anything about the actual book's about.
My synopsis kind of retold what Terrence just said.
Oh, okay. Right.
The fact that he turned down her offer, and then she said, well, either you're going to be tortured or become a butler. And, well, I'll go with butler.
Well, if I saw that happen to a monster, I'd probably choose to be a butler too, I think.
There's one other scene that I read. So he was cooking on the stove, and the building that he's in is kind of dilapidated, and he can feel it kind of swaying. And he's like, if this building fell on top of me, I would love that. So it's going to be kind of macabre like that, comedy. Yeah.
Okay, so again, wow, it sounds like Yen really went for the comedy on a number of these ones, eh?
Yeah, I think it'll have some, I'm sure it'll have battles and things like that, but yeah, it has a little macabre comedy element.
That sort of macabre okay.
Yeah.
So it's like the beleaguered main character, right? That has to go through life and is like, if I could just die a really quick, painless death, it would be good. All right, cool. Then this one, I mean, it's like kind of a no-brainer given what Yen's been doing, but they licensed Wolf Children, Ame and Yuki, which is the bittersweet novel adaptation of the award-winning Wolf Children film, wherein a young single mother raises two unruly children with an unusual secret in the Japanese countryside. Now, this is the same director, author, writer, etc. of like Mirai, The Boy and the Beast, isn't it?
Yeah, and also, wasn't it The Girl Who Leapt Through Time and Summer Wars?
Yes, exactly, yeah. Yeah, it's like all of those he's done. And Yen has basically licensed all of the novel adaptations of his stuff too. So again, like I said, it's kind of a no-brainer that they did this. I guess these adaptations have been doing well for them because they just keep snatching them up. But I don't know. I've never seen the movie, so I'm not too sure what it's all about. It does sound like it's not so much the. It sounds heartwarming, but the whole bittersweet aspect of it, I'm kind of like, don't know about that one. Next, they licensed, now this one actually I was really excited about. Bottom tier character Tomozaki. So this series, now I've talked about this a bunch when I've been doing like the top 10 lists. So this series is about a guy who is the top gamer in Japan. And basically he's like, if we apply gamer logic to life is an absolute garbage game. Like it is a stupid game with no rules. It's junk. And then there's this other girl who is also a gamer. I guess she's ranked up along with him. And she's kind of like, no, you're wrong. Like, life is a great game and I'm going to show you how to play it. And so it's kind of sounds like the whole idea is that they're applying gamer logic to trying to beat obstacles in life. That kind of seems to be the gist of this one. It gives me a very like, I've seen a few people saying that they kind of see it as the spiritual successor to, My Youth Romantic Comedy Is Wrong As I Expected. Like that same kind of like, taciturn main character who's been kind of beaten down, but thinks that in a lot of ways he's better than everybody else. And it's kind of like him learning to kind of deal with life and reality. I don't know, but it sounds pretty good. And you know what? It's a slice of life book, which I always am happy to see because we have so few of them.
Yeah, it's peeked into this one a little bit too. And I've also been looking how some of the other people have been characterizing it. And yeah, I have seen a lot of people compare it to my youth romantic comedy, except not in a good way. They've kind of called the main character the poor man's Hachiman. And so yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, all right.
Because the main character has a really kind of dour and negative outlook on life, and the female, the gamer, she's kind of the school idol, all dolled out, but she secretly plays video games, and she's just utterly devastated that the best gamer in Japan that could beat her is such a whiny loser. And so I'm not quite sure how this one will turn out. So I haven't gone too far into it.
Okay.
Oh, I was just going to say the opening to Strongest Gamer just kind of reminded me of the synopsis for this one. Where I don't know if you read Strongest Gamer, but it opens with, haven't you heard life is just a bad game? Yeah. Which honestly, I hadn't really heard that a whole lot until I heard the synopsis for Tomazaki-kun. So,
well, I don't know. They did say the same in No Game No Life.
Ah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like a common thread whenever you talk about, like, whenever there's gamers in, like, light novels, they often are kind of like, yeah, life is a garbage game. That's why we play video games, because they at least have rules and, stuff like that. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Like I said, I'm hopeful that it will be halfway decent. And I mean, we will actually talk about this title a little bit later from now. That's another reason why I'm a little bit hopeful that it's, even if he's not on par with Hachiman, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad book. So, because I mean, let's face it, Hachiman's he's his own character. You don't find many characters that can match him. Then they also, let me see, I think this is the last one. Yep. So their last license that Yen announced, and this one's kind of interesting. It's Last Round Arthurs, Scum Arthur and Heretic Merlin. Rintaro is a guy who's good at anything he tries, so he's completely bored with life. Just for fun, he decides to help Runa in her bid to be recognized as the one true King Arthur. But there's just one problem. She sold Excalibur.
Well, do you know what this book reminds me of?
No, what?
It reminds me of defeating the Demon Lord's Cinch.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of this. I kind of get the vibe of Million Arthur. It's kind of it's a mobile game, almost the exact same premise, where where a guy pulls out Excalibur from the stone and he thinks he's a chosen hero, but it turns out a million other people have been able to pull it out. And so they're all kind of like battling to see who could be the one true King Arthur.
Oh, jeez.
So I don't know if this is related to it in any way. The art direction doesn't look like it.
No, so I mean, it's kind of got an interesting pedigree. So the art is being done by the same artist as the Certain Magical Index series.
Yeah, that shows.
It's yeah, oh yeah, definitely. You can tell that style right away when you see it. But it's actually being written by the author of Bastard, what is it? The Bastard Magical Instructor or whatever. Oh, I can never remember how that is because we don't have it licensed in English, so I don't get to talk about it very often. It's like Bastard Magical Instructor, Akashic Records or whatever. Anyway, so it is like an established author with a very popular and established light novel series. So it's not like a series that's just come out of nowhere. Like this is an established light novel with a light novel author with an established following and track record, teaming up with an established artist And there's only 2 volumes. Like the second volume just was released in Japan or is just coming out in Japan. So, I mean, this is like a brand spanking new series. Like this is like like to me, this is basically Yen buying this one sight unseen, you know, like it's not been out long enough to prove itself. Like, I think they're just buying this based on the pedigree of it. You know, unless they got some sneak peek into the first book and an idea of where it's going that had them hooked on it. I don't know, but yeah, like it is about as new a series as I've seen, other than I think Gear Drive for J-Novel Club, because they picked that up with only 1 volume out.
Oh, there's one other one that had 1 volume, Soul Press. They picked up that the one where the demon lord decides to work at the orphanage.
Oh yes, that's a brand new one too. Yes,
very recent. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. That's brand new too. Yeah. So, yeah. So I mean, it's kind of interesting. Again, I think this is Yen flexing their weight and saying this is an author who's established, who's done well, and it's got art by a loved artist. So let's snatch this one up before anybody else does. So who knows? I mean, you know, and I think too, like, you know, let's face it, the Arthurian legend is so widespread and acknowledged in the Western world that I think it's a real easy sell to play around with that legend for English audiences. I mean, that's my take on it.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So we'll see. So yeah, so I mean, those are all the titles that are coming out. So from Yen, those are the last ones they announced. I will say that J-Novel Club has said that they will have some more announcements before the year is over. I guess they're waiting until they've got a couple deals that they're still trying to finalize.
Yeah, I actually heard one of them they finalized, and they're just waiting on one more.
Right. So, okay. So maybe 2 more titles from J-Novel Club. So yeah, so I mean, it's not like this is the end of licenses for 2008, but this is probably,
18.
I'd say this is probably it for Yen. I can't imagine they'll announce anything really from here on out, because they usually seem to announce theirs in bulk at like the big sort of conventions, and they don't do a lot of announcements, I find, just like let them dribble out via social media like 7Cs or J-Novel Club do. So, but yeah, so we'll at least get a couple from J-Novel Club, and who knows, maybe 7Cs has another 1 or 2 up their sleeve as well. You never know. Speaking of J-Novel Club, the one news that we did get from J-Novel Club this week was the announcements of their first 5 manga titles. And 3 of them were in no way surprising. One of them was surprising because it makes me hopeful for something. And then the other one I had never heard of. So, so first of all, it does definitely tie in with light novels, not just because it's J-Novel Club, but because the first 3 of the 5 were the manga adaptations of Infinite Dendrogram, which of course J-Novel Club is publishing the light novel. How a Realist Hero Rebuilt the Kingdom, which J-Novel Club is publishing the light novel. And they also got, was it Seirei Gensuke?
Yep.
Yeah, so that was the other one that is also a light novel title that they are publishing that they got the manga for. So 3 of the titles of the 5 are already the light novels. J-Novel Club has them.
Yeah. Are you guys going to read the manga adaptations, like, personally? Are you guys going to look into those, or do you prefer to go with the light novel, or do you do both?
Well, a while back I checked Realist Hero, and I don't know why, but the art doesn't grab me, so I'm gonna stick with the light novel on this one. But
yeah, that one, they said enhanced design. That was the hint, because some of the chest sizes in that one are a little exaggerated. If you go check that one out.
No, really? Yeah. I haven't looked at it yet. I personally will just stick with the light novels.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just checked like 2 or 3 chapters, and like I don't know. It just didn't appeal to me, the visual and everything. So gonna stick with the light novel. But with the Infinite Dendrogram, I didn't pick it up yet, and it's faster to read a manga than a novel. So might check that one out.
Well, I think of the ones that they picked up, like Infinite Dendrogram. I mean, I still like the art of the light novel better than what I've seen of the manga, but I think of those three, I think Dendrogram will work the best as a manga. Given, I mean, it's a game world. There's lots of action. There's lots of fighting. You know what I mean? Like, it really could be a manga. Like, there's no reason why not. Realist Hero, to me, so much of that is the strategy and the, you know, and kind of being able to see inside characters' heads and stuff like that. That I think, to me, that one's not as easy a sell when you're talking about a manga. That's just my way of looking
because sometimes you change character perspective.
Yeah. Yeah, I regularly double dip on the manga and light novels. And Realist Hero didn't translate very well.
Yeah. I mean, I can see where Sam's coming from, right? Like, obviously, he doesn't, if he's got the opportunity to get the manga of a series he already has, he's going to do that. And particularly with Realist Hero, because that's their top seller from what he's said a number of times. So, I mean, I'm not surprised that he picked it up, but at the same time, yeah, I mean, if you're asking me, I have a hard time seeing how you wouldn't lose something going from the light novel to the manga. I mean, I suppose it's kind of like a nice compliment to it, but I would, if I had to choose.
The thing is that, like, not everyone that reads manga reads light novel, and inversely. So I think that by taking that manga out, he might be trying to pull in some, another customer base.
Oh, yeah, I agree. I mean, like I said, it makes sense. I mean, why would you, when you know that the light novel is one of your best sellers and there's a manga out there, why wouldn't you grab the manga? I mean, it makes sense to me, regardless of us light novel fanboys thinking that it's better to go with the light novel. You're right. There's going to be people that they wouldn't read the light novel, but they may very well read the manga. And if you can have both of that income, why wouldn't you? I mean, it makes sense to me. I don't know about Seirei Gensuki because I haven't read even the light novel yet, so I have no idea how that works in terms of the light novel and the manga. So I can't really comment on that.
On Seirei Gensuki, there's very much the Shield Hero vibe from it, that just the main character just continues to get shit on just every other corner.
Great. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What can I say?
Is it going to have like with some of these series, even like Ari Fureta, like I feel like all the other male casts in a lot of these series are just like really shitty. Like there's never any like other positive male characters other than the hero. Do you know if Seirei Gensuki, does it feel like that? Are all of the other male casts like just evil?
Yes.
Okay.
Even yeah.
I mean, yeah, you're right. I think that's probably why, like, I mean, I don't think we actually said it when we were talking about Realist Hero in our one podcast about it, but I mean, that is the one nice thing, that even though Soma is a very prominent male character, he does have other male characters that work for him that are, very well-rounded individuals and aren't evil and, are intelligent and useful and, you know what I mean? Like, contribute in a way that is essential. Yeah, you're right, though. You're right. There's a lot of light novels, particularly when they're harem-type light novels. Every other male character is a jerk.
I get the sense that in, like, particularly in harem light novel, like the main character is an insert for the reader, and thus maybe the writer tries to portray every other man as an opponent, something to surpass.
Well, I think too that there's also just that idea that men would be very jealous of a male character with a whole bunch of girls hanging off of him. So
exactly.
Yeah.
obviously we would treat that dude like total garbage. Because we know that if we treat him like dirt, it'll totally get the girls to like us. Yeah. So those were the three that they have the light novels, and they're now going to be publishing the manga. The fourth manga that they have is purely just a manga, and it's actually a 4-koma manga. And Terrence, you knew more. You know more about this because you actually looked at it, right?
Yeah, so this one's about a guy who, I forget if it's a relative who gave him the apartment, but he's basically going to live in a new apartment. And when he gets there, he thinks, okay, this is my apartment. I'm going to live here alone. He opens the front door, and there's these little fairy creatures on the ground. And he's like, who are you? What are you doing here? And it's kind of like, and I'll forget the name. What's the one with the girl that she lives with her brother, and she's really annoying? Oh, Hime Uto Umaru-chan. It's kind of like, I feel like the fairies are kind of like that in terms of their personalities. Like, they'll rifle through his food and munch on that. You can even see on the cover, one of the girls is drawing on the floor. There's a mess all over the place. So they kind of have that personality, at least to start. I have heard they become a little endearing, but we'll see. But yeah, like the first thing they do is they drop a cup of tea on the ground, and they're like, there's your tea, go lick it off the ground. And like,
great.
Yeah, so they're not easily personable with another human there. And they even like try to act like it's their place and that he's the interloper.
Oh, jeez. Okay. All right. So, and sorry, that one's called
A Very Fairy Apartment?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. A Very Fairy Apartment. Okay. Yeah, and that one's just a pure manga. And you said that as far as you know, there's 3 volumes out for that one.
Yeah,
right?
Volume 3 actually just came out in Japan.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
And then the last manga that they announced, and this one was the one that made me raise my eyebrows and go, oh, really?
Yes.
And that is Ascendance of a Bookworm. This one, well, you know, I looked at it and I was like, Honzuki no Geku Kujo. So this one is actually based on a light novel series, a very popular light novel series, a light novel series that we will be talking about very shortly. And it is a light novel series that I have very much wanted. And when I saw that they had the manga, I was like, oh, Sam, are you teasing us? like, are you teasing us? Or are you like testing the waters to see how much people want this title for light novels? Like,
well, if I'm not mistaken, was it number 1 in last year's Kono light novel Gasugoi?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, so it's a given. Like, I'm sure
and guess what number it was this year in Kono light novel Gasugoi.
Oh, look at that segue.
Segue. Yes, so yeah, Kono light novel Gasugoi. Let's yeah. So anyway, Ascendance of a Bookworm is an isekai story about a girl who wants to be a librarian, and she dies when there's an earthquake, and she is literally smothered by her own book collection. It's an ad for ebooks. I swear to God. Anyway,
Yamako Reedman would be proud.
That's right. Anyway, she is reborn into a world with a very low literacy rate. And so she decides that she really wants to still be a librarian. So she decides that if there aren't many books, then her life mission is to make books and create books and to fill a library with books. And so that's what she sets out to do. I don't know, like it's one of those series that you hear about all the time because it sells well and because yes, it ranks very high on Kono Light Novel ga Sugoi, but it's not one that you really see a lot of people talk about, you know, in terms of like, it's not like, I don't know, maybe it just hasn't gotten anything in the way of fan translations, but
isn't this one bigger? Like, I don't know if that's the case, but I thought one of the titles Sam said if he did bring it over, he would have to change the whole function of like how much something costs on his site. And I thought it was this one because the volumes are a little bigger.
I do believe the volumes are a little bit bigger. There are 18 volumes currently in Japan. So, I mean, it's a longer series too, which I know Sam was saying that's a little bit of a deterrent in terms of picking a series up now. But, you know, when I saw that he had the manga, I was like, dude, like, you're
you
such
gotta wonder.
You're such a tease.
You gotta wonder if it's in one of those other 5 novels that he's kind of teasing.
Right? Right. Yeah. Well, because like I said, you've licensed 4 manga that are all based on light novels and you publish 3 of them. Seriously?
Yeah. So the reaction to this one seems to be, why not the light novel? Like everywhere I've seen, that's the reaction. I'm curious, are you guys going to avoid the manga and hope against hope that the light novel is coming?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, it depends. I don't really wait for a light novel to come out in English to at least read a bit of manga chapters or like fan translation of the novel, like just to get a vibe of the series.
Yeah, I see myself maybe paging through it just to give it clicks, just in case that helps us get it if it's not in one of the other 5 light novels that he's yet to announce.
I'll buy 3 copies if it means getting the light novel.
Yeah,
let's spread the word. Everyone for Christmas, buy a couple of copies.
Well, and honestly, that exactly. Like, yes, I would buy a copy of the manga and not even read it if it meant that I was going to get the light novel. Seriously, like I'm not even kidding. And I probably shouldn't say
investment.
Exactly, and I probably shouldn't say that because I can just see the tweet, something popping up in my inbox from Sam. Oh, Justus, how many copies were you willing to buy to get this light novel? But no, I do not. I always do my best not to spoil light novels for myself, so I won't. Now, seriously, if we go 6 months and no one has licensed this thing, I'm probably going to give up hope. And then, yes, I probably will start reading the manga. Because, well, I mean, we'll start talking about Kono Light Novel ga Sugoi now. And as we go through it, it'll become obvious why I think that. The other thing that I'm surprised at is there's not been an anime announced for this series either. Like, it's got to be one of the only series that I have seen that has gone a whole year as being the #1 volume in Kono Light Novel ga Sugoi and not had an anime announced. But I don't know. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about Kono Light Novel ga Sugoi because we have mentioned it often and it is a big deal in the light novel community. This one is put out once a year. It started back in 2004. Give a little bit of historical context on it. I did say this, I did a couple of videos on the ranking, and I did say this in the video. So there is a scholar on Japanese literature. He actually teaches at a university in the States, which completely eludes me at the moment. Anyway, I read a paper by him, and he said that Kono Light Novel ga Sugoi is generally regarded as being the magazine that caused the term light novel to expand beyond the fandom and to be adopted as the terminology by both fans, publishers, and the public at large to describe, well, what we now call light novels. That until then, that pretty much publishers called them teen novels, And that was kind of like the general way that the general public viewed them as well. That light novel was just kind of like a fandom kind of terminology. So every year this comes out, they rank the top 10 light novels. They, for a number of years, had a single top 10 light novel list, like a general overall list. They have a bunch of different lists in Kono Light Novel ga Sugoi. They have like top 10 male characters, top 10 female characters, top 10 characters, period. They have like the top 10 new, they have like a top 10 new list, which is, I think, any volumes that had their first volume published in the last year. And essentially what they do is they take polls from fans, from bloggers, from publishers, from authors. Like, they basically poll everybody who's involved in light novels, and they assign sort of a weight to it. I was actually talking about this with Frogcoon on Twitter, and she was saying that I guess every year it's a little different how they weight it, and they actually have a whole page at the front of the magazine telling you how they calculated it, how they figured it out. So I don't know how they did it this year, but I know it always involves these votes from everybody. And so they had one list that was the general overall list, and then 2 years ago they split it into the overall Bunkobon list and the overall Tankobon list. Now, Bunkobon, I know I'm oversimplifying it, but the bunko formats, it's like they're like a mass market, like they're like cheaper paper, cheaper covers, they're smaller. They're generally seen as like a read it and leave it, like they're not like a quote unquote collector's item. I mean, Jean-Luc, I know you were in Japan at one point. You probably know a little better than I do.
Yeah, well, I do have like the index one, and they are really small. Like, they're smaller than what we get in English, and well, didn't really strike me as buy it and leave it book, but it's true that they're not super expensive.
Yeah.
On like Bookwalker, like the Bunkobon novels, I mean, these are digital novels, so it's not like you're buying for the paper quality or anything.
Yeah.
But the Bunkobon, I think it's mostly the Bunkobon, they're around 600 to 800 yen or JPY, and then the Tankobon are around 1,200. So it doesn't, like, if you're investing for digital copies, doesn't really seem worth it unless the Tankobon are that much like longer. I don't know if they are because of the different, quality or size or whatever. But yeah,
I don't really think so. I mean, when you take a look at the titles that are Tankobon and compare them to the titles that are Bunkobon, like, I don't think the length of the book really is that substantially different. I think it's just that, I mean, when Sam was talking about it, he was saying that in Japan, the reason that some companies are putting more out in Tankobon is to combat with web novels. So the idea is that if you've read a web novel for free, we put it out in Tankobon because it's a nicer format. It's more of like a collectible. And so therefore it's more of an incentive for a person to buy it because they can have it nicely on their shelf as opposed to just the web novel. That's sort of the gist I get of it. Again, I don't know because I have not actually physically held a Bunkobon and a Tankobon in my hands, so I can't even say for sure. I'm just going by what I have read online. I also get the idea that the Tankobon are slightly aimed at a slightly older audience with like a more of a disposable income.
Yeah, that was also the vibe I got.
Well, I mean, even when like we'll go through the titles, and even when you go through the titles, and you kind of get you see what titles are Tankobon, you kind of get the idea that okay, these are even though we call them light novels, and I mean they certainly have a lot of the same themes. Definitely, you can see where they're kind of aimed at a slightly older audience, either because of their content or because the main character is actually an older person. They're not. It's not necessarily like they're not teenagers necessarily. I'm not saying that they never are. I'm just saying not always.
Yeah,
Anyway,
well, if we look at, it's true that now that you mention it, if we look at the list of tankobon from those that I know about, like the main character, well, when it's an isekai, before dying, the character was like older.
yeah. Yeah.
So
and I
it
mean,
makes sense.
and even when they're teenage characters, there's still, it's usually that there's a little bit more of a literary style to it, or, you know, like it's, we'll talk about it as we go on. Do you guys want to start with Bunko, or do you want to start with Tankobon?
Let's start with Tanko, since we were already talking about number one.
Right. Yeah, well, there you go. Okay. So we'll run down the list. We can talk, we'll just talk very briefly about these titles so, you know, the podcast doesn't become 6 hours long. So at number 10, we have So I'm a Spider, So What, which is licensed by Yen On. And so we do have this one in English. Actually, I think there's only like 3 titles out of this top 10 we don't have licensed.
Yeah, even number 11 we have licensed to, which was I think that was Gear Drive.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I'm a Spider, So What? So this one about, now this one, the main character is a teenager, but given how I've only read the first 2 books so far, given how book 2 works, I can see where they would sort of say that this one is still kind of aimed at a slightly older audience. So the main character is a girl. It's an isekai. Her entire class, as we gather it, died in some mysterious way, and she is reborn as a spider, like it's a monster spider, but it's a spider, and basically the story kind of branches off, and most of it follows her surviving in the dungeon and leveling up and everything else, and then the other part follows some of her former classmates in their lives in this other world. And in volume 2, it becomes very apparent that there's actually a time differential between the storyline following the other students and following her in the dungeon. And I don't really want to spoil it, but man, like, I read that second volume, I was like, whew, this book's getting cool.
Yeah, it's definitely aimed for a more mature demographic, especially with all the things that happen. I mean, you got the constant battles and threats to Spider-Girl's life. And then it switch over to the other side, and you kind of get the more generic isekai experience.
Yeah.
And then you don't. And then that stuff starts happening at volume 3. So I won't spoil it for anybody, but
now I'm interested. I finished volume 1, but the ending felt a little anticlimactic to me. I just wanted those 2 groups to come together or do something.
Terrence, you got to read volume 2, man.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
I mean, obviously it sounds like volume 3 amps it up even more, but man, like volume 2, damn. Like, you know, I know when this title was first announced, I was like, oh my God, I can't even, like, I don't even know. But I read the first one. I was like, oh yeah, this is kind of cool. I like her. She's snarky and everything else. Then I read the second volume. I was like, man, this is a serious book. Like, they're not playing. Yeah, no, it's actually, it is way better than what it sounds, which is why it's actually been on Kono Light Novel ga Sugoi. It was on the list last year too. At number 9, this is actually one of my favorites too. I've been killing slimes for 300 years and maxed out my level. This one also licensed by Yen On. Man, Yen On owns so many of these titles. Jeez, you can tell they've got the big publisher money behind them, eh? In any case, this is about an adult. She is in her late 20s and in modern day Japan, and she basically works herself quite literally to death. She works for a company and doesn't eat well, doesn't sleep enough, run, heart attack, done. And meets up with a goddess who is like, man, like that sucks. And so basically the goddess is like, you know what? Let me give you another shot at life in another world. And so this girl says, well, can I be immortal in that world? Like, do they have that? And she's like, oh yeah, I can make that happen. Because she's like, if I'm immortal, then I never have to worry about time. I can just take my time all the time. And so sure enough, she's reborn as an immortal. She's a witch, so she has some magical power. And she lives in this nice little cottage, and in order to make money and some potions and stuff like that, just to support herself, she kills the slimes that are in her local area. And she does that for 300 years. And so when you kill 25 slimes times every single day for 300 years, you become the most powerful being in the entire world, basically. From basically the accumulated experience points, if you will. And then basically once the word gets out about how strong she is, of course, all sorts of interesting characters start showing up on her doorstep. It's actually a very, very light-hearted, easygoing novel. Like, I don't think there's ever a time that you break a sweat thinking something bad's going to happen to anybody, you know, like even when it starts looking like things are bad, you're like, nah, it'll all work out. It's all good. Well, it's very cheerful.
That's one that I have mixed feeling about.
Okay. Well, you can't just drop that bomb and then not follow it up, man.
Well, let's just say that when it started, like the first few chapters, I really liked it. I liked the idea, especially the idea of Azusa being like she tries not to work hard, or she tries that people around her not work themselves to death. Like it's like her death actually influence her state of mind in that world. Like in other isekai, like, oh, I'm dead, I'm reincarnated, oh, everything's fine. But the way they died doesn't really influence like the main character's personality. But in that one, it does. And I really liked it. But at one point, there's something that really... I was, whoa. There's two slime twins.
Oh.
Okay, so I'm gonna go a bit on a rant here, but okay. How can you come to life because someone killed a lot of slime, and all of those spirits made two slime twins, and then you go, oh, I'm gonna go kill that witch because she's bad. She was killing slime. And when the conflict ends, Azusa just asks them, well, what have you been doing for 50 years? Like, you were not born yesterday. Like, what you've been doing for a living? Oh, we've been killing slimes. Like, okay, your reason for getting revenge is what you've been doing for 50 years. So
but evil
that kind
slimes.
of didn't click in my head. It's kind of, okay, I'm out.
But evil slimes. There are evil slimes, and then there are good slimes.
Yeah, but couldn't
Azusa doesn't know the difference.
Yeah, but couldn't they have shown to her doorstep like on day one, and hey, there's a difference between good and bad slime, so would appreciate you only killing bad slime. But
well, I think, you know what? Well, I mean, this is for an episode where we actually review this. We'll put it aside for now. We will have this conversation though.
I think that the big thing that might have turned me off, other than the fact that I found this reasoning a bit stupid, but it is the fact that all of the child rearing aspect, like the two slime twin, they take her for their mother, but it didn't feel right. Like, it didn't feel like in Devil is a Part-Timer, where you really feel like Mao is adopting his kid, but in that one didn't feel a satisfying relationship between them. So I don't know. Should at least try to read the next one, but
we will talk about this in a podcast dedicated to this series at some point. We will get much more into it. In any case, yes. So that's at number 9. At number 8, we have Mushoku Tensei, Jobless Reincarnation. This one is actually licensed by 7 Seas. That I remember us all being really shocked that 7 Seas got this one. They are publishing the first volume May 21st, 2019, which will only put us about, well, there's 19 volumes currently in Japan. We're going to spend the next 8 years catching up on this one. You know what? I know the general gist about this series. I don't know if you guys have any experience with it.
Well, I was expecting this
doesn't
one.
sound good.
It's wish fulfillment isekai.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. Well, fair enough. Okay.
Yeah, but I still found that story to be interesting in the fact that instead of just being transported to another world, he's being reborn, and you follow him from day one, and you see him grow up, and instead of just going fast forward to when he's in teenage year and so on. But not so far from what I read of the manga, it's a good series.
Well, we'll find out in May.
I will sure do.
And at number 7, here's one to talk about. And again, I was like, where did this come from? J.K. Haru is a sex worker in another world. And astonishingly, we have this one not only licensed, but available right now. You can buy it at a local ebook retailer near you. From J-Novel Club. And I just had to laugh when I saw this was on the list, because I was like, oh my God. Because we all kind of gave Sam a hard time, right? We were like, Sam, what are you doing, bro? Really?
Did you see on social media? So Sam posted, when I announced this at Anime Expo, everyone went, "Wah?" And then the author actually retweeted that and said, when I heard English translation from J Novel Club, I also said, "Wah?"
That's awesome. I love it when the Japanese authors get into it too. So this one is really self-explanatory. You want to talk about titles that basically tell you the gist of it. So high schooler Haru is sent to another world and becomes a sex worker so that she can survive, while her classmate who got sent along with her becomes a hero. She gets the short end of the stick. Well, okay, never mind. We'll move on.
But
go ahead.
Don't be misled by the title. It's a great book. It's a great story. It's for mature audience. It's not. Yes,
Yeah.
It's an isekai story, but it's not a fluffy one. It's an hard one. There's a lot of rough stuff in it, but at the end of the book, it's really a good ride. Your launch across, yeah, maybe not the best choice of word, but still.
Kyle, I'm glad you broke first.
I'll maintain the expression. It's a good ride. It takes you through a roller coaster of emotion from start to finish. It's really great. At one point the plot twist. It's really I didn't see it coming.
No.
Yeah, it's really great. So if sexual description doesn't deter you from reading it, please go read it. It's a really great story.
Yeah. and that's what I was going to say. Like, I have been continually surprised by just how much positivity there has been around this title. Like, I mean, even before this list came out, and I was like, oh my god, it's actually on Kono Light Novel ga Sugoi. But even before that happened, I Amazon, it's had tons of 5-star reviews and stuff like that. Like, yeah, I mean, it's apparently an excellent book. But yes, it is very it is very descriptive. It is quite mature. I know I read the first 5% of the book and kind of had to put it down and was like, oh, I don't know if I can read this in mixed company.
Yeah, and it does keep up that the description isn't. I don't think it gets much less, but like JL said, there is stuff that you'll get something out of it if you get to the end of it.
Right.
But there's definitely it can be one that will turn some people off. That's why it is so surprising that it is one that is ranked so high in this list.
Yeah.
Just because it is so visceral and it is a tough read for people. Although maybe that also added to its quality to end up on this list. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, and it's a one shot, right? Like, that's just the one book. There's not oh god.
We'll see.
Well,
it's a one shot for now.
I don't see it continuing, but I can see why Terrence is hesitating on that point.
Well, I will say that I have seen a number of people state that the author has written other side stories, but they are set during the novel. They're not a sequel, is what I have seen. Now, maybe the author, if things are going well, and especially now with Kono Light Novel ga Sugoi, maybe the author will feel the sudden urge and inspiration to write more. I would never say never at this point.
Well, if there's a sequel, I don't feel like it will be it will have the same vibe. Like, I don't feel it will, without spoiling anything, like, I don't feel it will follow the same concept if there's a sequel.
No, probably not. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
This one is like, if you go on Bookwalker, even in Japanese, I think they consider it completed. So, but yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
So at number 6, we have Majo no Tabi Tabi, or The Journey of Elena, which we do not have in English. This one in Japan, there's 8 volumes. It is about a witch who travels from country to country, place to place, and her adventures as she does so. That's kind of the gist of it. Kind of like a magical Kino's journey.
A broom instead of a bike.
Yeah, like really.
I guess.
I don't think the broom speaks to her, though. I'm just saying. Anyway, I really don't have anything to like. I love the artwork on these books. I'll say that. Like, the first time I saw the artwork on these volumes, I was like, "Oh, I wish we could have those because I want them on my shelf."
Hey, it feels like Strike the Blood.
Really? Strike the Blood?
Yeah. Well, I only have like one book in front of me from the list of Kono Light Novel ga Sugoi. I think it's the 4th one. So I don't know if all of the other book have the same character, but in Strike the Blood you have the same character on every books.
Oh, yeah. It is like, you're right. The artwork is like that. It's always her on the cover. As far as I know, as far as the ones that I've seen. So I don't know. We'll see. I wouldn't be so. This one actually has been on the list of Kono Light Novel ga Sugoi before. So, but surprisingly, it's only got 8 volumes. So I don't know why we don't have that one licensed, actually, now that I think about it. Cause anyway, moving on to number 5, because we're already a good, hour, 20 minutes into this puppy. Number 5, That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime. Again, Yen On has this one licensed. 13 volumes in Japan. We're going to have the 4th volume in December. And this one with an anime currently airing for it. They actually, I think, just finished adapting volume 1 in the anime, actually. I think as we're recording this, I think they have just started into volume 2. So this one about an older character, a businessman who gets stabbed while he's protecting a coworker and is reborn as a slime. I mean, that's kind of what the title says. And then he proceeds to become an OP slime and create a nation for monsters. Yeah, that's kind of what it seems.
I feel like when I first went through Slime, it kind of didn't impress me that much, but it's gotten a very excellent anime adaptation where it feels like they take a slightly different tone than what's realized in the main works, and I think it's really been working out well.
Now, do you think it's like a bit more comedic in the anime?
Oh yeah, definitely. They're definitely taking a much more lighter, it's almost more of a parody in the anime.
Yeah, because I saw that Flies was talking in the chat like that it was funny and stuff, and I thought, I don't remember the light novel feeling that funny. Like, I mean, it had funny parts, but I wouldn't say that I thought it was necessarily a comedy. But oh well. You know what? It strikes me though it's one of those series that I think grows on you as you read more of it. But I don't know.
Yeah,
I've got to read more of it to find out.
I find that there's a lot of important and serious moment in the anime, but all of the comedy just overlaps everything. Not a bad thing, but because I do like the anime quite a bit, but since I have so much stuff to read, I'm not sure I'm gonna pick up the novel anytime soon.
Right. Okay, fair enough. All right, then at number 4, we have Overlord. One of my personal favorites. I really like this series. It's licensed by Yen On. They're going to be releasing the 9th volume in January. In Japan, there are 13 volumes currently available. This one about again, adult who has played a VR MMORPG for many, many years. And on the eve that they're going to shut the servers down, he decides to stay logged on until he's logged out. And he never gets logged out. Instead, he finds that he has actually become his character, which is an undead lich, and that all the NPCs that populate his base of operations have all now become living beings, and they are now in a world that is very similar to the game world. And so all sorts of action and splat ensues. Bit of a darker series. I mean, I don't know. Like I say, it's a bit of a darker series, but I think it's only feels that way just because the main character, like the characters you're rooting for, would technically be the bad guys in just about any other light novel series. So it kind of makes you think like, oh, this is dark. But then you're kind of like, but I like it. And there are moments that I laugh. So I don't know. Is it dark? I don't know. So at number 3, we have the Monogatari series by Nishio Ishin. This one's licensed by Vertical. They're going to be releasing the 12th volume in January. And in Japan, there are 24 volumes. This one about Araragi and friends and the weird and mysterious spirits, monsters, etc., that they encounter in their hometown, and primarily known for its snappy dialogue than it is actually for the monsters. Funny enough, but I like it well enough. I like the series. I think it's because it's filled with all sorts of quirky characters and stuff like that.
I've only read Kizu Monogatari. I did watch a little bit of the anime too, but Kizu Monogatari, I read the audiobook, and I guess was that is it Vertical that publishes it?
Yeah.
I think they announced the new, well, at least release dates for new audiobooks on in the Monogatari series. Neko, I want to say Neko Monogatari White and Black.
Yeah.
I think those are both getting audiobooks. So I'll probably look into those too. But other than that, I haven't read much more. I did read Juni Taisen, Zodiac War, which was one that was kind of, it wasn't, I wouldn't say it was negatively received, but it wasn't like glowing. I think it's kind of a weird story, you know, and it's a death game kind of, but it's not like some other death games. It's like, you know, dramatic, and you're wondering, oh, who's gonna live, who's gonna make it through this. And to some extent there might be that, but I think one thing was a lot of people talked about how some of the intros to each chapter would spoil things on who lived or who died.
All of them did.
Yeah, I skipped every intro because I had heard that. But even so, I don't think the story was made to be like a shocking or surprise kind of thing, because the ending kind of does something with that. But yeah, and that one apparently was getting a sequel as well. I don't know if that's going to come stateside or not. But yeah, those are the only two things I participated with Nisio Isin so far.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Wink,
yeah.
wink.
Yeah, it's, well, yeah, I mean, I'm only one volume behind. I've read the first, 10 volumes of the Monogatari series that Vertical's put out, and I've actually found that it grows on me more as I go along. I've found that the more recent volumes I've actually enjoyed even more so than the beginning of the series. But you know what? I mean, again, it's a very... I kind of think Nishio Ishin's a bit of an acquired taste. You've got conversations that can go on for 40 or 50 pages that are basically pure nonsense and have very little to do with the actual plot of the series. He breaks the fourth wall all the time. Like characters talking about how you can't do that. They'll have to censor that in the anime. And, you can't do that. Nobody's going to want to read the next book and stuff like that. He breaks those boundaries all the time, but it's fun in a way. I don't know. I kind of feel like those ways, it kind of makes you feel like you're participating in the story. You know what I mean? I don't know. I like it. Like I said, it's one that's grown on me. I could not get into the anime years ago, but I have found that it seems to work better for me as a book. I don't know. Although maybe now that I like the books, maybe I'll go back and try and watch the anime someday. So then at number 2, we have one that there's only one volume in Japan. And of course, we have absolutely no English license for it.
Want me to pronounce it?
Please do. Please do.
So at number 2, we have Umibe no Byoin de Kanojo to Anashita Ikutsuka no Koto. Okay, I'll start again. Umibe no Byoin de Kanojo to Anashita Ikutsuka no Koto.
Thank you.
Which roughly translate to maybe small talk with a girl at the hospital by the seashore?
Yep.
That would make sense.
Yep.
Yeah. So now, again, this is one of those ones, there's nothing on it because there's only one volume. And so I had to use Google Translate, which was, it's usually ridiculous. But
yeah.
Basically what it seems like is that, so it follows a main character who goes to a hospital that I guess faces onto a beach because he was once hospitalized there. And I'm guessing he's talking to this girl of the title. And he reminisces about the fact that most of his former colleagues, they came down with this sudden mysterious illness. Many of them died. Even the few that are survived are still in the hospital. And how everything changed, quote, that day, and how a disease spread in local cities. There's tons of adults dead, that there's a power residing in children. I don't know. Like, it sounds like it's kind of like a post-apocalyptic-ish, outbreak type story. I don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah, descriptions, synopses sometimes can be tough with Google Translate too. Like if you read like individual lines or sentences, sometimes it can get it, but just like a general synopsis, sometimes it struggles. Yeah.
Yeah, it almost sounds like the opening to Seraph of the End, where all the adults catch a disease and die, and it's everybody under 16 or something lives.
Yeah.
Oh, kind of sounds like the premise of that.
From my point of view, it kind of feels like a shonen manga from the point of view of an adult.
Huh.
Like all the kids get these power, but the adult are practically non-existent.
That could be interesting. Yeah, I don't know if and because there's virtually no information about it, I don't know if it is an ongoing series. I don't know if this was like just a one-hit wonder. I have no idea. Don't know. And there hasn't been a lot of information really put out about it, so don't know. At number 1, Honzuki no Geku Kujo, Ascendance of a Bookworm. So this, of course, is what we were talking about in the J-Novel Club manga license. Yes, last year this was number 1 as well on the Tenkobon list. And yes, we light novel fans greedily await the day that somebody says they've licensed this. I mean,
it might be coming soon.
Well, I mean, seriously, like if we took the time, and I'm not going to do it right now because, it's already late and we've been recording for a while, but if we took the time and went through all of the titles that have been number 1 on Kono Light Novel Ga Sugoi, are any of them not licensed or have an anime? Or both? I don't think there is. And like the only ones that may not be licensed are ones from like when it started back in 2004. And even then, I think those ones were licensed by Tokyo Pop. It's just we can't get them because of Tokyo Pop going kaplooey. But you know what I mean? Like, how many titles have been number 1, not only once, but twice, 2 years in a row, and not been licensed by someone? Like, I don't know.
Might be interesting to check out.
I may just go back and look at that. But, I mean, if you look at like, I mean, really, this is the reason, this is what I was saying, like with the Kono Light Novel Ga Sugoi, I mean, this is why it's interesting, even as an English fan, even though we don't get a say currently in what is rated as number 1 and such. It's interesting because if you look at the history of Kono Light Novel Ga Sugoi in terms of what anime have been greenlit, in terms of what light novels have been licensed and everything else, there is a very strong correlation between placing in the top 10 on Kono Light Novel Ga Sugoi and getting an anime and getting licensed and everything else. Like, I mean, again, like I said, if you go through this whole list, only 3 of these titles have not been licensed. And I mean, and the one, there's only 1 volume out in Japan, so I can't really fault anybody for having not licensed that one yet. You know what I mean? Like, so really, so many of these have been picked up. Like it's kind of crazy. So that's why when I saw the manga for Ascendance of the Bookworm on J-Novel Club, I was like, oh my God, Sam, like seriously. Like, well, like you said, Terrence, that's the reaction, right? Why not the light novel?
Yeah. And Sam was joking about it. If you say why not the light novel, you get a negative -1-year ban from J-Novel Club forums. So,
well, I mean, I guess I can't really blame him because I think everybody who likes light novels, that's the very first thing when they saw it, they were like, "The heck!" Like, why are you getting
clearly in jest, but
well, I mean, the banning part, but not from the fans who were like, "Dude."
Oh, yeah.
Why not the light novel? Oh, well. Yeah, I Yeah, I mean we've already talked about this a bit. I don't know that there's anything else to say other than fingers crossed. But
Yeah.
because you know what, and I mean I say that, but like I have no reason other than what I know the book is about. I have no reason to even suspect that it's any good. I mean I might read it and hate it, but I want the chance to try it out. You know, like I at least want the opportunity to know.
Well, if it's been number one twice, I doubt that it would be bad.
Well, I would hope not. I would seriously hope not. And I mean, and again, like it's, you know, I think my main thing is that we're not going to escape from isekai anytime soon, right? Like isekai is here to stay for all the people that groan about it. I know, but it's here. It's staying. It's staying because it's popular. It's staying because it sells. You know, like you can say whatever you want, but I mean, you talk to Sam, like really, all of his top sellers are basically fantasy and isekai, and that's it, right? But at least with something like this, it's an isekai that is so different, you know, like she doesn't have some crazy powers. She's not trying to save the world from the demon lord. She's trying to make books. like to me, at least it's something really different that she's trying to do with her new life as opposed to the usual cliche stuff that everybody else does. You know what I mean?
Yeah, she's trying to destroy the demon lord's wallet.
Yeah. Oh man. So then we have the Bunko Bone list, and we'll try and plow through this because, again, yeah, we've been talking for a long time. And I mean, really, a lot of these, again, already licensed, and we've probably talked about a couple of these we've already talked about at length. At number 10, Sword Art Online, which, of course, licensed in English. Yeah. And we've already even done a podcast on Sword Art Online, so I don't think there's really any reason to kick that can too much more. At number 9, A Certain Magical Index, which, I mean, you, the listeners, by the time you're hearing this, you'll know that we have done an index podcast. But at the time we're recording this, I'm still editing it because amazingly, a number of people in our group had things to say about certain magical index. I don't know. It's just crazy to me just how they could talk for 2.5 hours about this one series with 45 effing volumes. Oh my God. Anyway, I think that's the one thing that I will mention about this. It's on this list because of the second series of A Certain Magical Index, which is New Testament. Because the old one, the one that we're currently getting in English, is long done as far as the Japanese are concerned. So this is like, even though it says A Certain Magical Index series, it's not even the series that we're currently reading. But anyway, I'm sure we'll get to New Testament eventually. Right now, so there's 24 volumes in the main series, which is what we are getting in English. And they're releasing, Yenon is releasing volume 18 in February of 2019. So I predict in late 2019 or 2020, we will get a license announcement from Yenon about New Testament. That's my guess. If we figure that they'll release probably 3 volumes next year, yeah, probably 2020 they'll announce it. That's my guess. I know. And then it'll be another 10 years for it to get New Testament done. So whatever, it's all good. At least, you know, for the people that like Index, you've got a long, long road ahead of you, my friends. At number 8, now this is one that we do not have licensed. And again, it's only got 2 volumes in Japan, so it's not too shocking. And that is Sankaku no Kiyori wa Kagiri nai Zero. I didn't butcher that too bad, did I there?
No, that's good.
See, you think I've been practicing. Now, this one actually sounds really interesting to me. And I don't know, again, it's a really brutal Google translation that I had to kind of figure it out. But so basically, it sounds like that it's a love triangle between a dude and one girl, but the girl has split personalities.
That's what it sounded like to me too, but I don't know if that's the case or not. It's called Bizarre Love Triangle too. That's on the cover.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what it sounds like to me, and that would be very interesting, of course. Somebody that has, like, dissociative identity disorder and split personalities, yeah.
Yeah, and this one, it's like triangle love story for me, who is two people, and you, one who is alone. So, distorted
Thanks,
triangle.
Google.
Yeah, right. I mean, yeah, thanks. Yeah, thanks for anything, Google. Stupid thing. Yeah. So it really does seem to be. Yeah, it really, like, when you look at it, it really does. Like I said, it's messy, but it makes it fairly clear that she has multiple personalities, and that he, I guess, falls in love with each of them.
This one is getting a manga as well, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Really,
Let's
with
hope
only
so.
2 volumes out. That's that's impressive. So yeah, so that's really, I don't really have anything else to say about that. But I mean, in terms of quote unquote slice of life series, that could be interesting to see if it's handled well. I mean, if it's just stupid, then I don't know. But anyway, I'm hoping it's not stupid if it's, on a actual recognized list. At number 7, and I know this is one that there has been some push to try and get, Boku Tachi no Remake, or Remake Our Life. This one basically about a guy who works in the gaming industry, and the whole thing kind of goes kaplooey on him. So he decides to go back to his parents' house, and he goes to bed, and when he wakes up, he finds that it's 10 years in the past, and that he's currently attending the school that he had given up on going to when he was actually that age, and that his classmates are the people that in his actual life are people that he admires. So it's kind of like that whole doing life over, if I only knew then what I know now kind of thing. Like, that's the gist I get of it. But I think it sounds cool. I'd definitely check it out.
Yeah, I'm kind of banging the gavel for that one. I want that one.
Yeah.
I did pretty much everything you said, though, is pretty much as far as I've read. I know when he gets to the dorm, he's sleeping, and when he wakes up, there's a girl sleeping next to him. He's like, what the heck? And apparently it's a co-ed dorm, so they'll be living together. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out.
Of course he's sleeping. Of course. Yeah. I
Never
mean,
happened in real life.
Like, they just have to, I don't know what the obsession is with them. Like, these, like, oh, let's shack up a guy and a girl together for no reason other than, like, yeah, exactly. As if any university was like, now you two complete strangers that are the opposite sex, get in that bedroom together and sleep.
Yeah, because we're missing space.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. So then at number 6, we have Classroom of the Elite. This one licensed by 7 Seas. They announced that license the same time as they did Moshuko Tensei. And it's going to be released May 7th, 2019. That's when we'll get the first book. In Japan, they're currently at 9 volumes. This one basically about a school that segregates its students into ranked classes, and essentially follows a student in the lowest ranked class and how his life changes as he meets people and sort of, I guess, kind of claws his way to the top. Is that sort of the... There was an anime that was really popular. I didn't watch it because I knew it was based on a light novel, so...
Well, it was good, and from what I've seen, like, I'm expecting the light novel to be good as well. So,
well, it's super popular. Yeah, it's really popular. I mean, it sells like when you're covering like the top 10 bestsellers, like it sells tons of copies when there's a new volume out. So yeah, it should be good. And then another one that was on the list last year that we thought we might get, and we did, and that's number 5, which is 86. This one been licensed by Yen On. They currently have the first volume slated to release March 19th. And there are 5 volumes currently in Japan. telling you this one gets at least 1 or 2 more volumes. They're going to announce the anime adaptation. I will be shocked if we get through 2019 without an anime announced for this series. So this one is an alt world. It's about a war between 2 countries, and the one country's using unmanned drones, and then the other country in their propaganda says they're using unmanned drones, but they're really not. They're actually using soldiers that have basically been conscripted and are being forced to fight and die in these machines. It sounds cool. I'm looking forward to checking it out. It's, again, something that's a bit different in terms of light novels. Like, we don't really have any actual war light novels except for Saga of Tanya the Evil, which still gets a little convoluted with the whole isekai and god and everything else thing going on.
And even mecha, we don't have a lot of mecha light novel as well.
No, that's true. No, actually, like, I mean, I know we've had some light novels, like, my god, like In Another World with My Smartphone has a mecha in it. Like, Jesus, that, you know, that series, man, I can't hate on it because it's just like, it is just such a fanboy. Like, you can just tell the author is just like, I'm going to do whatever the hell I want. I want to have giant robots, so I'm going to. And nobody can stop me. But yes, it'll be cool to sort of see that kind of a series come out. And I don't think there's anything like magic or anything in that series. It is just like mecha and like military machinery as far as I understand it. So yes, that'll make it very different than, well, basically anything that we have. Then at number 4, JL, you want to help me out with this one?
Certainly. So at number 4, we have Ige Osoru, Soshite Joshi Kose o Hiro.
Thank you. You said that so much nicer than I would have. Novel updates, and Jean-Luc, maybe you can help me out. Novel updates says this one translates to, I shaved, then I brought a high school girl home.
Well, that's what I was translating as well. So I'm not sure if there's an expression like Ige Osoru is shaving, but I'm not sure if it could also mean something else that I don't know. But yeah, that's
okay. All right. Well, fair enough.
Somebody posted a request for this one. They called it "Shave the Beard, Pick Up a Schoolgirl," which sounds bad. And I think that's kind of how I saw it translated by Google at one point.
Oh my god!
But I do have somebody in the comments section. They actually put their name, the Red Jet, on J Novel forums. They actually put a better synopsis.
Oh, did
this one?
Oh,
it's
good.
It's a back and forth dialogue. So it's about brokenhearted and drunk Yoshida, a 26-year-old salaryman, stumbled upon a runaway from high schooler on his way back from the bar. Hey you, JK, what the heck are you doing out here? Go home already. So then she says, old man, let me stay at your place for the night. You can do that to me if you let me stay. And then he responds back, if you meant that as a joke, it's not funny. And she says, I'm not joking. It's fine by me. And then he responds back, then allow me to tell you that I have no interest in brats. And then she says, huh? Well, then just let me stay the night. And so he says, so starts the story of living with a high school girl, Sayu, the slice of life romantic comedy between a runaway high school girl and a 26-year-old salaryman ensues.
well,
so this one does have a manga that is just releasing, and a lot of people really like the manga on the forums. But yeah, I mean at least the title and some of that description, I'm like,
well,
we'll see.
I can see it going south, but I can also see it being interesting. It depends on how it's told. Like it can be a heartwarming story where they kind of learn from each other, like how to surpass their hurdle in life and everything. But like being anime style storytelling, it might also go south. So
Chicka
Yeah.
chicka wow wow.
Well, at least the covers, like they look. I've kind of used the word like wistful. The girl, they don't look like provocative or anything. They look more novelty and more like wistful looking and dour and emotional than they look like, something that's perverted or anything. So.
Well, yeah, like I see where, like I agree with Jean-Luc. I can see where it can go either way. It could go the way that you're like, I'm a little leery when they call it the romantic comedy. I'm kind of like,
Yeah.
And like, how JK is she? Like 17 JK or 14 JK? Like, anyway, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I kind of wonder, like, something like that. I do kind of wonder if we'll actually get, because it still strikes me that depending on how that goes, I don't know if that's the kind of material that a lot of English publishers are going to be like, we could go with this slice of life novel, or
Well, we did get J.K. Haru.
well, we did. Yes, we did. We did.
What was the other one? 29 to JK. That wound up on your countdowns a few times.
It's been on the top 10 a couple times. Yep, and I shudder every single time. I just oh yeah, wow. Anyway, and then at number 3 we have bottom tier character Tomozaki. So this, of course, tying into when we were talking about Yen Press and them just announcing the licensing of this series. And this is what I meant. I was like, it's number 3 on Kono Light Novel ga Sugoi. Like, even if he is kind of a poor man's Hachiman, it can't be a bad series, or at least I hope not. Because My Youth Romantic Comedy's been on Kono Light Novel ga Sugoi a couple of times over its run as well, right? So my hope is that it's decent. We've already talked about it. So
the illustrator also wound up number 3 on the illustrator rankings too. Just to throw that in there.
Yeah, the illustrator, I don't know. Well, I mean, we can't really go over illustrator rankings. It's kind of hard to do on the podcast. But I will include the list of that on the notes if people want to sort of research it themselves. And then at number 2, we have The Ryuo's Work Is Never Done. This one, of course, set in the shogi world in Japan, about a teenager who's risen to one of the highest ranks that you can in shogi, and then comes across a 9-year-old girl who ends up living with him, because of course she does, as his apprentice. And hilarity ensues. This one is licensed by Bookwalker. Actually, it's a Bookwalker exclusive. You can only buy it from them in English. And this one actually was number 1 for the last 2 years on Kono Light Novel ga Sugoi. So this is actually, so it's dropped, but only to number 2. So still obviously quite popular. The first volume, I was a little put off by the sexual pratfalls that involved a 9-year-old. But once it got past that, it had that heartwarming sort of, look at how their strengths are helping one another. But like, I mean, they did that whole, like, she walks out of the shower, he falls on top of her, and I'm like, really? She's 9. Like, ew, that's gross. And even when the book starts off, it's like they're having lunch together in a park, but the way it's written, it's like, oh, master, it's so big and hard and firm. And I'm just like, I'm going to be sick to my stomach, you guys. God. Anyway. Supposedly Frog-kun read more of it. Like, she agreed with me on the first volume, but then when she read more of it, she said that tones down and it's much better, and it's much more like about the shogi battles and stuff later on. Although I don't know, man, I couldn't really get past it. So anyway. And then finally at number 1, and This one, this is funny because this is one of those titles that it's like, it's number one, and all I saw in all the forums everywhere were like, what? Sabikui no Bisco, or Rust Eater Bisco. There's no English license. It only has 2 volumes in Japan. Now, get this, though. So I was talking to how they have different lists in Kono Light Novel ga Sugoi, and one of them is the new work, which is obviously anything that's brand new in the year, and then of course these lists, which are the overall. This is the first time since Kono Light Novel ga Sugoi started in 2004 that a novel has been number 1 in an overall list as well as being number 1 in the new list. This is the first time it's ever happened in 14 years. So I mean, it's a title that nobody seems to know anything about.
I don't know anything. I've just seen the covers. They look interesting, but I don't know anything.
So the general gist, so here's the idea. So basically a plague that is kind of like rust has swept across Japan. And I guess, I don't know why the hell they hunt mushrooms, but they hunt mushrooms. I don't know. I guess because there's medicinal properties and stuff like that in the mushrooms. And there is one fabled mushroom that people believe actually is a strong enough medicinal mushroom that it can cure the rust. And so the story follows this guy, Bisco, who is one of the top guys for hunting mushrooms. And it kind of follows him as he's going out into these wastelands looking for shrooms. I can't even, man. I'm sitting here thinking, like, man, it's got to be good. Please let it be good. Like, don't let a title that, it's a record holder now for having this first time ever to accomplish this. Please don't let it be garbage. I just, Anyway, it actually only won the Silver Award, believe it or not, at the 24th Annual Dengeki Novel Grand Prize Award. So, didn't actually even rank gold there, but apparently, what can I tell you? So that's what that is. It's number 1. I imagine with it having taken both of those lists, I imagine we're going to hear about this getting picked up either this coming year, or if it is not picked up this year and it's on Kono Light Novel ga Sugoi again, the 2020 volume, I guarantee you we'll get it licensed after that. I can't imagine it won't. But yeah, I know. I saw the artwork too. The artwork is kind of like, I mean, obviously it depends on your aesthetic, but I thought it was kind of cool. It's that really sort of jagged, kind of very cartoony, bright in your face kind of stuff. Like, well, I mean, it's certainly, it's interesting.
It feels more like a manga cover than a light novel cover.
Yeah. Just looking at that, it just screams Shonen Jump.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I mean, like I said, even the story, like, set in a post-apocalyptic world, like, I mean, yeah, it totally sounds like a Shonen Jump type series too. So yeah, I mean, that's number 1, and I wish I had more to say about it, but unfortunately there's only 2 volumes. And what's really funny is that all of the websites we usually count on, like Novel Updates, the Light Novel Database, and everything else, none of them have an entry for this book. Like, it does not exist. So I think that's why,
the most popular book does not exist.
Right? Well, this is what I'm saying. This is why I'm like, this one just came out of left field, because at least as far as the English audiences are concerned, because like I said, I went on Reddit and I was thinking, oh, well, Reddit, somebody's got to have posted information. All I see is, what the fuck is this? Like, what the F is this? Who the F is this Bisco guy? And all this stuff. I'm just like, okay, well, at least I don't have to feel bad. I'm not the only one. But again, I am pretty sure that we will be hearing far more about this book now that it's not only number 1, but also number 1 in the new work. And is now officially a record holder. Yes, I am sure we will be hearing much more about that series over the next coming months and years. And that's it. That is Kono Light Novel ga Sugoi done. And our discussion on the more recent novel licenses as well. And we're just over 2 hours. Look at that.
Yeah, but you're gonna cut out
some of it'll it'll get cut out. It won't.
Yeah.
It might be one of the shorter episodes, which is good. That's good for me. That does not hurt my feelings at all. So now to our dear listeners, our next episode kind of depends on the postman. Sounds funny to say that, but it's God's honest truth. Here in Canada, we are having a massive postal strike, or at least we have had that up until our government finally ordered them back to work today. So Vertical is being incredibly kind and sending us copies of Nishio Ishin's new work, Katana Gatari, which is where Terrence was kind of like wink, wink, nudge, nudge, Nishio Ishin, going to be reading more Nishio Ishin. Now, Katana Gatari is a omnibus. There's 3 volumes in the book, and it is about a samurai and a girl, which I don't know her association with the samurai. They are searching for 12 blades, swords that I guess are mutant, cursed, weird, strange, perverted. I don't know. Apparently there's all sorts of different theories on this so far, but it sounds very cool. It did have an anime based on it, and actually even the release of it sounds kind of neat. Nishio Ishin actually released one of these books a month for an entire year. So there was the 12 different books, which then, like I said, they are collecting into 4 omnibus volumes, which shall have 3 books each. So now if the post delivers this book in time to Jean-Luc and I, who are in Canada, that will be our next episode. If it does not, we'll come up with something else. We're currently talking about Psychome, which is a little bit of an older series now. It's actually complete even in English. But you know what? It's a really fun and not like much of anything else that we've had since. And it was kind of one of the first licenses that Yenon got that all of us kind of scratched our heads and went, whoa? Because there was like no anime, no manga, no nothing. Just, we had no idea. It just kind of came out of left field. So yes. So I'm not too sure what our next episode will be. It'll be one of those 2 things. And I guess it'll be a surprise. It'll be a surprise. A Christmas. Actually, that, you know what? Sadly enough, it probably will be close to Christmas actually when I post it. So yes, it will be
let's hope we have a Festivus miracle with your deliveries.
Let us hope. All right, so that will be our next episode. So, gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me for this episode, and to all of you listeners, thank you always for your support and coming back and listening to us time and time again. Until next time, bye-bye for now.
See ya.
For show notes and related links, visit lightnovelpodcast.com.